Okay, so another way to interact with the plugin are these scaling options. And what I'm referring to is these little dot icons underneath some of the knobs, which when you open up gives you a whole bunch of basically different behaviors for the knob. So I'll just go over some of these for the different parameters basically. So rate, kind of mentioned, has this cool like tonal behavior where it's linked to the note, and at high rates, basically it creates a tone. But you don't actually have to have it this way. You also have milliseconds and BPM sync. Although first I should mention you can actually have like a steppier, more like quantized version of the same behavior if you have like the octave mode. So you can more easily get to like a clean octave. And there's like a semitone and a limited octave version, but those are just different snap settings. Milliseconds will make it not linked to the note. So this is if you don't want a different rate when you play different notes, then you can just use the millisecond version. Let me, for example, and I'll go over this in a second, but I'll play two different notes. Right, different pitches, but the rate's the same. And you can also BPM sync the rate. Which a good tip for that is if you don't want like the crazy fade in, then you just kind of reduce the shape control and you get a much quicker fade in. But I'll put it back to key map free for now. Size and scatter have a kind of not super interesting scaling option where basically just scales more aggressively with the linear mode, and exponential just scales much slower at first and then more aggressively with the size, which just lets you dial in like small sizes for like tonal sounds, for example. Yeah, those aren't horribly interesting. Scan has a more interesting one where you can BPM sync. And this one's a little bit interesting because how do you BPM sync it, like moving through the sample? It basically just does like at 16 beats, it'll play through the whole sample in 16 beats. And that's good for like BPM synced loops. So if I had like a clean drum loop in here, which, was trimmed properly, I could make it like a loop that people can play and play at different pitches and at different tempos. Right, as I increase the tempo here, the actual scan rate increases. Let's see if I can find a loop real quick. Yeah, for that. Let's make it not sound bad. Oh, that's why. Exponential scaling. All right, so that can be good for, certain like rhythmic sounds that you want in there. And then I think the most interesting scaling options would be with the pitch. So, going back to the tonal grains, right, usually the pitch, I guess, when it's not kind of tonal grains and you have these slower grains, the pitch that you hear is just the pitch of the sample. But the pitch of the sample is moved around when you play different notes as well. But you can make it not do that if you use one of these non-key mapped versions, like fixed free. Now, I'll play some different notes. Can maybe hear the different rates, but the pitch is always the same. And this can be useful if you want to do the tonal sounds, but you don't want the sample to pitch around. And this gives kind of a subtle difference in the behavior. I'll demonstrate that real quick. So that's with the pitch not being moved around with the note that you're playing. And that's with it being moved around. So as you can tell, like as I play a higher note, it becomes brighter because the pitch of the sample's pitched up. It's gonna become brighter. So if you don't want that for your tonal sounds, you can use one of the fixed versions, or note track it and do a custom kind of pitch relationship. But yeah, we have the key mapped and then just snap settings for the key mapped type of pitch scalings and the fixed pitch scalings, and also scales. And I think the interesting thing with the scales, because these are basically just snap settings as well. See if I can get a good kind of section of the sound. Might not be the sound to use. That might be better. Alright, so now it's the major scale. But that kind of snapping behavior is also applied to modulations. So actually, let's go with a different scale. Let's go with the pentatonic major. So less notes in there, and I'll just kind of randomize the pitch upwards. And so now we'll get a random note in the pentatonic scale within this range, each grain. Yeah, which like used with the blur control can create like kind of pads just from one note, like a whole chord or something. So yeah, that should cover the scaling options. And you might not want to go digging into these for each sound, but it can be useful if you want like different behavior for the rate, or you don't want to link to the key or whatever. It's just basically to override the kind of default behavior and to give some more extensibility to certain controls like the pitch.